Hey sports fans, welcome to the Ballers Club Press Show. Today's episode is all about rubber boots. Stay tuned. Hey, so I wear rubber boots a lot. I put on countless miles in rubber boots. I wear them very often. Basically, if I didn't have a job where I had to look presentable, I wear my whole life in just slides and rubber boots. These are each the pinnacle of all-terrain footwear, and really one's just the cold weather version of the other. So today I'm going to show you my rubber boots and take you through what I like and don't like about each different type and brand, and that way if you're in the market, maybe it'll help you. Hey, so the first rubber boots I'm going to talk about today are these Nats rubber boots. These are made out of a closed cell ethylene vinyl acetate, so EVA. They're super light, like each one probably weighs, I bet you the pair is like a pound. They're very warm, so there's no liner in them or anything, just this material happens to be very warm, and they're surprisingly tough. I bought these rubber boots on clearance at a Home Depot when I was just walking through one day, and they were 20 Canadian dollars. The actual price of these is they're about 100, 110 Canadian at this point now. So I bought them on clearance, not knowing exactly what they were. I just figured, you know what, I'll take a chance on these just in case they come in handy. That was in 2015. It's now 2023. I have worn these a lot. Before I had really good hunting boots, or if my boots were wet or something, I would often wear these waterfowl hunting. They've hiked 1,000,000 miles. The soles on them has gotten almost completely compressed and worn out at this point. One thing I will say about these is if you're walking on rocks or gravel or anything, you're going to feel like literally every little stone that you step on, everything you step on. But other than that, they're pretty good. Even in the bush and stuff, when I've worn these and like walking around like sharp little dry sticks and stuff like that, nothing has punctured them yet. And I have worn these a lot. The thing I wear them for now, because I have enough rubber boots at this point that are, for specific stuff, I just throw these on at night if I have to take the dog out or something. So I can even slip them on with bare feet and they're fine. And yeah, really good rubber boots. If you just need something for the occasional, use, I guess, and you want something that's going to last a while. I mean, these Nats, they're kind of expensive. They don't look like they should be able to last long, but they do. I have worn these a lot. They are made in Poland, and they seem to be surprisingly tough. I actually did buy a pair of these that was like camouflage, and they came with liners in them, and my intention was to pull the liners out and wear them as hunting boots, because they were the camo ones. They had a straight cut on the top, and then they had like the nylon on top with the cinch cord, so you could keep all the crap out of them when you're walking through the bush or whatever. I ended up selling those. I didn't like the way they felt. They were very uncomfortable, I found, maybe because they should have had a liner, but they just felt too stiff, and my foot was always sliding around inside of them, even though I thought I bought the right size. So I didn't keep those. But as far as these ones go, I mean, even if I, these ones finally do bite the dust, I would probably want to buy another pair just to have around. They're just so handy with this bigger opening to just slip your foot in and wear them when you just need to run outside or something in the winter or the spring when it's a disgusting mess. So Nats rubber boots, recommended for the right purpose. All right, so the next rubber boots I'm going to talk about are my hunting rubber boots. So I have two pairs of them. I have the Lacrosse Alpha Burley Pro and Muck Field Blazer. So I need two pairs of rubber boots, because what ends up happening every morning when I go out is my boots I sweat in them, they're wet, and they stay wet for the next day. And so I need a dry pair for the following morning. And then usually by the third morning, the original pair is already dry. So here are my two pairs of rubber boots. For country of origin, the Mucks are made in Vietnam, and the Lacrosses are made in China. So both of these hunting boots are a size 13. I wear a size 13 sneaker, like in a Vans or whatever. And each of these boots, they fit me great. I have kind of a wider foot, and I don't have any comfort complaints with either pair of these. I bought the Lacrosse Alpha Burley Pros first. These are the rubber boots I actually wanted. And I've had a pair of these in the past. I had them for about 5 years, and I wore them a lot. I put countless miles on them in the bush and stuff. And they never leaked. They never had any issues. But I guess my shoe size has changed since the time I first bought them till when I ended up selling them. And I still, I think, got $100 for them. So they just felt too tight. Otherwise, I would still have them. So I bought another pair of the same, and these are them. And they're actually in my size. The only complaint I have about them, well, two little things. Number one is the camo on the front starts to wear off very quickly. So my old ones that I had for 5 years, like the camo was gone until about here. It was all just black. On these ones, you know, it's not quite to that point yet. So even though you're buying camo rubber boots, expect the bottoms to look like the Mucks in no time with just a black bottom. The other kind of complaint I have about them is the insoles that come with the boots. I don't know if they move around or it's a little too small for the boot itself, but I kind of feel my toes like hanging off the edge of the insole a little bit, and it sort of doesn't drive me completely nuts, but I definitely don't like that. So maybe I'll try putting some different insoles in them or something. But those are my two complaints. The fit of these boots is they're a little, they have a little bit of grip on the ankle here, so that I guess, you know, when you're walking through mud and stuff, the idea is that your foot isn't like constantly moving up and down. So they're basically, it has a thin layer of neoprene throughout the boot from top to bottom. And the inside kind of has this like grid material. And then the outside is coated in this, whatever, the rubber of the rubber boot. These are the uninsulated models. You can get them insulated up to like 1,600 grams of Thinsulate. But for me, I mean, these are already fine. I already sweat in these, even when it's kind of cool out. So that's the Lacrosse Alpha Burley Pro Great Rubber Boot. The Mucks are a thicker neoprene. They're more neoprene throughout, or I guess what I'm trying to say is the rubber, the coating only comes up obviously to here, and then the rest is all neoprene. So you still have neoprene up to the toe of the boot on the Mucks, but you know, it's a thicker and it's not exactly, doesn't have as much rubber as the Lacrosses do. In terms of the tread on both boots, I don't know, they're a different approach, but one's not really better than the other. I don't feel a lack of traction in either one in mud or anything like that. Comfort-wise, I would give the edge to the Muck. The sole and the insole and everything, it just feels a little softer and squishier, and the Lacrosse is a little bit harder of a footbed. So the Mucks maybe are a little more comfortable, a little bit more roomy inside than the Lacrosse. But the Lacrosse is a little bit taller, and if you have big calves or whatever, of course you have some adjustment on the Lacrosse, whereas on the Muck you have none. I think they have a fat guy model that has like a bigger opening, but I don't need that for me. This is fine. The other thing I will say is, so in terms of how they dry if you get a booter, the Mucks, if you fill them up with water, so water, you know, you're in water past the top of the boot for whatever reason, like I happen to be this fall, trying to go get a duck that was in some deep water. These will stay wet for a week, like literally 7 days they will be wet. And it doesn't matter what you do to try and dry them, this neoprene, when it gets wet inside, they're wet. These Lacrosses, because it's a thinner neoprene and this grid, whatever the hell this is, if these get wet on the inside, you get a booter, you take the insoles out and everything, pour the water out, they're wet for maybe 3 or 4 days. Either of these pairs, from just the sweat of a morning out, you know, they'll be wet still the next morning generally, but the Lacrosses dry much faster than the Mucks. As far as which rubber boot is my favorite, even though the Mucks are a little more comfortable maybe, I still kind of like the Lacrosses better. I like the extra height. I like that they dry faster. These are quite a bit more expensive than the Mucks. So these are both like the most uninsulated models you can get. But the Lacrosses are like 230 Canadian and the Mucks are generally 160, and they always seem to be going on sale for 120. So you can get the Mucks quite a bit cheaper. The Mucks are still great boots. If I'm going hiking or something through a swamp or whatever, and it's not hunting season, I will tend to wear the Mucks just because I want to preserve the camouflage as much as possible on my fancier Lacrosse hunting boots here. So it's a little bit vain. The birds don't actually care if, you know, the boots, what color they are. It doesn't seem to make any difference, but for some reason, you know, I'm vain like that. So preserve the camo. But yeah, both great rubber boots, but in my opinion, a slight edge given to the Lacrosse. And in terms of weight, I mean, the Lacrosse are still heavier, even though they have the thinner neoprene and thinner rubber and stuff on them. One thing I will say is beware of imitations. So Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops sell a redhead variant of this Muck boot that have the neoprene upper and the rubber, you know, bottom half. I had a pair of those. I got them for pretty cheap. I got them for like $55 Canadian on sale, and it was not worth it. They lasted a year and a half and they were finished. So I didn't get very much mileage out of those. Similarly, I bought a pair of not Lacrosses, imitation Lacrosses. This style of rubber boot from Canadian Tire, which is a big retailer here in Canada, and they have a lot of their kind of own house brand stuff. They also stunk. It didn't take them very long, maybe a year, before they were taking on water too. They start to crack, or the sole sort of separates from the rubber. I mean, my last pair of Lacrosses were 5 years old. These ones are now, I guess they'll be going into their 3rd year of service. Same with the Mucks. I bought these at the same time. This is my first pair of Muck rubber boots. I don't know how long exactly they're going to last. We'll see which ones last longer, but I kind of know the quality of the Lacrosses, and I expect to have these for, 6, 7, 8 years probably. So anyways, those are my hunting boots. Okay, so lastly, we have 2 more pairs of boots here, and these are cold weather rubber boots. These ones are rubber boots that have a removable felt liner, similar to like what a snowmobile boot has. And they are both comfort rated down to -40. So these are the Kamik Icebreakers and the Baffin Hunters. These boots are both made in Canada. They're both size 13. And they're kind of like the same, they're the same version of each other, basically. So there's kind of 2 competing brands, Kamik and Baffin. They both have a big range of winter footwear. I like Kamik personally, so just disclaimer, I'm a little bit biased towards Kamik. When I was in the 1st grade and I was kind of graduating to my first real pair of winter boots, ones that didn't have Ninja Turtles on them, I specifically remember I had a pair of Kamiks, and I've been wearing Kamiks ever since then, when I was 6 years old. So I'm kind of a Kamik guy. So these boots are great for if you're out somewhere in the spring where you're taking steps through snow, and the snow has like that layer of water at the bottom, for instance, or if you're going to be possibly breaking through swamp ice, or really late season duck hunting or whatever. These are really good for that. So I have these ones that I wear often. Even as winter boots, I wear these Kamiks. A lot of people wear Mucks as winter boots, but I kind of find that with the Muck, with the style of their sole, number one, this rubber gets hard. Number two, with the Kamiks, you have a nice square block that's in contact with the ground. And if it's icy or something, I kind of prefer, this kind of square blocky, it's a little more stable than the Kamiks with their sort of rounder, and for me, that's fine. These are great for mud, but these are better for, icy surfaces. I also have these Baffins here. These are the Baffin Hunter. So they're basically everything the same as the Kamik. They're comfort rated down to -40. They also have a removable felt liner. So rubber boots with a felt liner. As you can see, these ones have the tags on them. I don't know if I'm going to keep these. I basically bought them for this video just to show off. So one thing I will say is these are both size 13. I wear a size 13 in, you know, like Vans or whatever kind of sneakers. The Kamiks fit me pretty well. And these Baffins are big. I probably could have got away with a size 12 in these. So you might want to undersize if you're going to go with the Baffins. The reason I'm not going to keep the Baffins is, you know, even just to try, I read a lot of reviews about the Baffins that say they don't last long. The Kamiks, you know, you'll get a few years out of these, but the Baffins, I was reading too many reviews that were just not very positive because they only lasted a couple of years. And when you look at the rubber, this rubber is much thinner and more pliable, and the Kamik is a thicker, stronger feeling rubber. Actually, it's not even that much thicker when you try to feel it, but they, as you can see, I mean, even the Kamiks, they just stand up perfectly, whereas the Baffins are all like warped and misshapen. It's a very pliable rubber, and if I do the same thing with the Kamiks, I mean, they don't get that little wave action to them the way the Baffins do. So I think the Kamiks would probably be a longer lasting boot. Now, I did try these Baffins on, and in addition to being that they have kind of a big fit to them, they're very comfortable. Whatever this rubber is that I was just criticizing, its longevity, they're a little less restricting, and because of how it bends and everything, like if you're doing something where you need a lot of motion and range of motion and stuff, you know, you might kind of prefer the Baffins. I just don't know how long they'll last. So as I said, both these boots are made in Canada. Here is the sole of each one. I kind of like that the Baffins have the maple leaf in the heel there. I kind of remember that from when I was a little kid. Some people's rubber boots, I guess they were obviously Baffins, their footprint would have a little maple leaf in it. So that's fun. The Kamiks, as far as the fit goes, one thing to note, so I have somewhat of a wide foot, I guess. So these are my size, but when I first put on these Kamiks, and even a lot of my other Kamik boots, like their winter boots and, you know, some of my like winter hiking boots made by Kamik, they feel a little bit narrow here. Now, that goes away in about 2 hours of wearing them. Something happens where they break in and the rubber stretches around your foot, and then all of a sudden that little bit of narrowness, that tightness, it completely goes away and it never comes back again. Every time you put them on, they're going to be for your foot at this point. So just something to keep in mind about the Kamiks. If you try them on in the store and they feel a little bit narrow, you know, I bet if you bought them and wore them for a couple hours, all of a sudden they fit perfectly. So these are both really good boots. I mean, I think the Baffins are probably okay. They definitely feel good. I'm a Kamik guy. I know these are good. So if you are in the market for a pair of winter boots, lined winter rubber boots, I mean, read the reviews of the Baffin, try both on, but my preference is the Kamik all day. Besides that I'm just a Kamik fan, I think this is a tougher rubber boot. I put a lot of miles on these. I have actually a couple different pairs. I have the black ones. I have the ones with the little camel up here. And, you know, I wear them a lot. I even wear my black ones cutting wood in the winter when it's like quite a bit of snow in the bush. And I know that they're very tough. All my Kamiks I've had, they seem to stand up. Like they're rubber on the bottom and everything, even for the hiking boots. They stand up really well. So I'm not too sure about the Baffins, but, you know, they have their pluses as well. One thing I will say, though, is Baffin has a couple of tiers of these winter rubber boots. So they have one that's twice as expensive as these ones called the Titan, which is comfort rated down to -80, which, I mean, isn't really a thing. But they seem to have the same rubber as these Hunters. The only difference is they have a much thicker liner, and I guess the whole boot altogether, they use a different mold because the boot's bigger, you know, to accommodate the bigger liner and still be the same size. But the rubber doesn't seem to be any different. It's still this kind of really pliable rubber on those Baffin Titans. As far as pricing goes, so these in Canadian dollars, the Baffins are $10 more expensive than the Kamiks. For the Kamik, these are kind of like the top of the line for the insulated rubber boots, but the Baffin, of course, has that one that I mentioned that's above these ones. And yeah, these ones are about 90 Canadian dollars regular price, 2023 pricing, and these ones are 80 Canadian dollars regular price, but of course both of them can go on sale. I picked these up at Cabela's for 55 Canadian dollars, and you know, I think I bought these for like 56 Canadian dollars on sale. So that is my opinion of these two winter rubber boots. I like the Kamiks. I wear these hunting. I wear them for all kinds of things. In the springtime, they're going to be great for traveling across frozen swamps where you're liable to break through. I love them. My feet are warm in them even when it's -20, -30 outside. I was wearing a pair of these yesterday when I was shoveling snow and chopping wood and stuff like that. And I was outside for a couple hours, and it was probably -25 Celsius, and my feet were fine the whole time. Only towards the end of that couple hours, maybe the tips of my toes were starting to get a little cool, but yeah, no complaints. They're awesome boots. So there you have it. My pick is Kamik over Baffin. Probably can't go wrong with either, really. But yeah.